Picture this. You're standing in a store where every shelf is stripped bare. No food, no batteries, no running water. Outside, it's even worse. Chaos, desperation, and people doing anything to survive. It might sound like a scene from a movie, but if you've been paying attention to what's happening around the world, you know how fast normal can turn into disaster. That moment when everything slips into panic, it happens without warning, and those who didn't prepare end up depending on luck or charity to get by. But you're here, which already puts you ahead of the game. See, being prepared isn't about paranoia. It's about being smart, being quiet, and staying one step ahead of everyone else. The truth is, when things start falling apart, the last thing you want is for people to know how well stocked you are. Because desperate folks do desperate things. That's why we're not just talking about what to gather. We're talking about how to hide it. This video is your guide to 20 essential items you need to hide before it's too late. We're not just covering the obvious. We're digging into what truly matters. Water, food, fuel, self-defense, medical supplies, and more. And more importantly, where to stash them so no one thinks to look. Hidden in plain sight, protected from looters, and secure even if you have to leave in a hurry. Look, you don't want to be the person begging for help on day 3 of a blackout or searching for clean water after a flood. The time to prepare isn't after the news breaks. It's right now. Because once shelves are empty, it's not about what you wish you had. It's about what you were smart enough to hide. And that could make all the difference between surviving and becoming someone else's supply. Let's get real. If you don't have food and clean water, nothing else matters. You can have all the flashlights and first aid kits in the world, but if your stomach's empty and you can't stay hydrated, you're done. These are the absolute first things to secure and stash before any crisis hits. And not just in your pantry, but in spots where others won't think to look. Start with canned goods. Not the trendy stuff, and we're talking about basic, high-calorie, long shelf-life meals. Chili, stew, ravioli, canned beans, corn, and soups that can be eaten cold if needed. The trick isn't just buying them, it's where and how you store them. Tuck cans into false bottom drawers, hide them in storage ottomans, or slide them behind books on shelves. Spread your supply out, so if one stash gets found, the rest stays safe. Same rule applies with dry staples. Rice, pasta, oats, lentils, and flour. Store them in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers inside food-grade buckets. If you're short on space, think vertically. Stack in closets, under stairwells, or inside old suitcases. Snacks matter too. Not just for calories, but for morale. Granola bars, trail mix, crackers, peanut butter. These are quick energy, require no prep, and can help you keep moving when time matters. Get single-serve packs to extend shelf life, and make trading easier if it comes to that. And don't underestimate comfort foods. A stash of chocolate or instant coffee can go a long way when stress hits. Now, let's talk about water, the one resource you literally can't live without. Most folks stock a couple cases of bottled water and think they're ready. That's a mistake. Plastic bottles degrade, especially if stored in warm places. If you've ever cracked one open after a year and tasted plastic, you know what I mean. Instead, get long shelf-life water in cans like Blue Can or Aqua Blocks. 30-year storage, 0 plastic leaching, and virtually indestructible. Store these under beds, inside furniture, even in gym bags you never use. If someone breaks into your kitchen, your hidden water will still be there. Next up, water purification. You want redundancy, filters, tablets, and purifiers that don't rely on electricity. Life straws are great, but don't stop there. Get Sawyer filters, gravity bags, and iodine tablets. And keep them in different locations. Car glove box, backpack, kitchen drawer. That way, if you're forced to leave home, clean water is always within reach. I even keep a life straw zipped inside an old hoodie in my closet. No one would ever think to check there. One item most people forget: a manual can opener. If all your food is canned, and your only opener is electric, you're out of luck the minute the power goes out. Get a few, stash them in different spots. And yes, they're cheap, so no excuses. Don't overlook hidden containers for food and water. False bottom buckets, wall safes disguised as vents, even hollowed out books for small items like energy gels or hydration tablets. The point isn't just storage, it's stealth. You want enough supplies to last weeks or months, but you don't want them all in one obvious place. Thieves won't take what they can't find. And here's something practical. Rotate your supplies. Once a month, check dates. Use what's close to expiring and replace it. That way, your emergency stash becomes part of your normal life instead of sitting forgotten until it's too late. Use it, replace it, hide it again. If you've got kids, don't forget their specific needs. Shelf-stable milk boxes, formula, kid-friendly snacks. You don't want to be explaining why they're eating plain oatmeal 3 times a day. Make your stash something that'll actually help you get through hard days. Not just survive, but keep some sense of normal. Last thing, think about access. In a real emergency, you might not be able to get to your usual hiding spot. That's why multiple small caches beat one giant stash. A few cans in the coat closet, a couple gallons under the bathroom sink, dry goods sealed inside a plastic tote under your bed. No one's going to think your off-season clothes are hiding oatmeal and lentils. This isn't just prepping. It's practical. It's smart. And when your neighbors are lining up for government handouts or raiding gas stations for a bottle of water, you'll already be home, calm, and fed because you were smart enough to plan ahead and quiet enough to keep it hidden. Most folks focus so much on stocking food and water, they forget a brutal truth. If the grid fails and people get desperate, the biggest threat isn't hunger, it's other people. History backs this up. After Hurricane Katrina, after Sandy, after the Texas blackouts, break-ins, theft, and assaults all surged in the days following the initial event. When systems collapse, law and order doesn't vanish all at once. It just fades, slowly, then suddenly. Now, if you've got something people want and they know where it is, they'll come for it. That's why defense is not optional. It's essential. And not just in the obvious home defense sense. I'm talking about preparation that's quiet, strategic, and hidden. Firearms? Sure. But they're just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. If you're a legal gun owner, this is the time to get serious about how and where you store your weapons. A closet shelf doesn't cut it. Neither does a giant safe that everyone sees when they visit your house. You want stealth, furniture with false bottoms, hollow wall panels, magnet-mounted pistol safes behind artwork. I know a guy who rigged a fake vent in his hallway that holds a compact 9mm. The point isn't to show off, it's to stay protected without drawing attention. And don't underestimate how fast supplies like ammo will dry up if things go sideways. We saw it during COVID. Shelves emptied in days. I personally rotate mine every 6 months and keep sealed packs in multiple containers, each stored in different areas of the house. You don't want everything in one box that could be found or stolen. But let's say you can't or don't want to own a gun. That doesn't mean you're helpless. Non-lethal defense can be just as important, especially for mobility or backup. Pepper spray, mace, tactical batons, even bear spray. I keep pepper spray in 3 spots. One by the front door, one in my car, and one hidden in an old shoebox by my back entry. Mace tucked into your coat closet or under the bathroom sink can be a lifesaver when someone breaks in looking for food. Then there's light. Yes, light. A high-lumen tactical flashlight with a strobe setting can disorient an attacker in total darkness. Combine that with a sharp whistle or alarm, and you've got a few seconds to run, regroup, or draw your weapon. Don't forget, panic loves darkness. Light is control. Knives, too, deserve real attention. Not your dollar store folding blade. I'm talking about full-tang carbon steel survival knives. The kind that can split wood, defend you, or open cans if needed. Keep one in your glove box, another in your bug-out bag, and one tucked into your bedroom nightstand. I also carry a tactical pen. It looks like an ordinary writing tool, but it's reinforced metal and has a hidden blade and glass breaker. Totally legal and completely unassuming. Now here's something not enough people talk about: layers. Think beyond what's on your person. Secure your home. That doesn't mean turning it into a fortress. Subtlety is smarter. Use dowel rods and sliding doors. Install heavy-duty deadbolts. Apply security film to windows. It won't stop a break-in forever, but it'll slow it down enough to give you warning. Solar motion lights in the yard work even when the grid is down, and they're cheap insurance against intruders. The strategy is layered deterrence. You're not trying to be invincible. You're trying to be less appealing than the next house over. Desperate people take the path of least resistance. Make sure you're not it. One last point. Defense includes readiness. All the gear in the world is useless if you can't access it under stress. Practice where things are. Run silent drills with your family. Know what goes where. I once timed how long it took me to grab my hidden gear in the dark. It took longer than I expected. That was a wake-up call. Quiet strength beats flashy displays every time. When things break down, those who prepared silently will be the ones left standing. The moment the power cuts out, everything changes. It's not just about lights going dark. It's your fridge, your heat, your communication, even basic security systems. And while a few hours of blackout might seem like a mild inconvenience, wait until it stretches into days or weeks. That's when people stop calling it a blackout and start calling it a crisis. Generators fly off the shelves every time there's a major storm. But here's what most folks don't realize. By the time you need one, they're already gone. And if you do find one, odds are the price has doubled. That's why smart prepping means getting your power source now, and not just a loud, gas-guzzling behemoth sitting in your garage. You want quiet, efficient, and, most importantly, hidden. Solar generators have become game changers. Units like the Jackery Explorer or EcoFlow Delta are compact, silent, and powerful enough to charge phones, run medical devices, even power a mini fridge if you ration. They don't give away your position like a loud gas generator does, and they can recharge off the grid with portable solar panels. I've got one folded behind a curtain in the guest bedroom. No one even notices it's there. But you still want backup. A small gas or dual fuel generator stored properly gives you another layer of security. Just make sure you're not making the rookie mistake of storing it in plain view. Even an unused generator becomes a target in a blackout. I've seen folks bolt theirs to the garage floor behind a false panel, or build simple wooden boxes disguised as storage benches to house them in sheds or backyards. Fuel is where things get tricky. Gasoline and propane aren't just useful, they're survival currency. But storing fuel isn't just about quantity. It's about safety and concealment. I keep stabilized gas in coated containers, buried 3 feet underground in my backyard, with no obvious markers. A neighbor of mine built a hollow deck step to stash propane canisters. If you're in an apartment or limited on space, look for stackable fuel cubes and airtight propane lockers that double as furniture. And don't forget spare solar panel parts, wires, connectors, even a second inverter. If one thing fails, your whole system goes down. Most folks invest in the panels, but skip the extras. You don't want to be the one with a $2,000 power station that doesn't work because a $5 cable failed. It all comes down to one question. When the lights go out, can you keep going? Not just for a day, but for a week, maybe longer? If the answer isn't a confident yes, it's time to rethink where your real power lies. When things unravel, the smallest injuries turn into major problems. A simple cut, an infected blister, even a burn from cooking over an open flame. Without proper care, these can escalate fast. And while most folks think they're prepared with a dusty first aid kit from a decade ago, the reality is, they're not. Just like fire starting, emergency medical is a category where being 80% ready might as well be zero. Let's start with fire. Without electricity, you'll need it for cooking, warmth, lighting, maybe even signaling. Most preppers throw a few lighters into a bag and call it good. But disposable lighters can fail when wet, freeze up in the cold, or run out before you realize it. That's why redundancy matters. Keep at least 3 different ignition tools: Bic-style lighters, waterproof matches, and a ferro rod with magnesium shavings. I keep a ferro rod tied to my bug-out bag strap, always accessible, rain or shine. It throws sparks even in wet conditions and doesn't rely on fuel. Combine it with cotton balls soaked in petroleum jelly or dryer lint in a waterproof pouch, and you've got fire no matter what. Don't overlook candles and fuel tablets either. I keep packs of tea lights in mason jars throughout the house. They're cheap, burn clean, and don't scream, "Hey, I've got supplies," like a roaring fire does. My cousin hides hers inside a fake cereal box in the pantry. Even her kids don't know it's there. Now, first aid. This is where most people drop the ball. A couple of Band-Aids and a bottle of ibuprofen won't cut it in a real emergency. You need a real kit: antiseptic wipes, alcohol pads, butterfly closures, gauze, tape, scissors, gloves, tweezers, and oral rehydration salts. And not tucked away in the garage. 1 kit in the car, 1 at home, and 1 in your go bag. All ready, all up to date. But here's what most people miss: education. Gear is useless if you don't know how to use it. I spent one Saturday last year taking a local Stop the Bleed course, and it completely changed how I think about trauma care. Now I keep a tourniquet, clotting powder, and burn gel in each kit. Not because I expect a Hollywood-style disaster, but because accidents happen fast, and help might not arrive. For meds, rotate stock: antibiotic ointment, aspirin, antihistamines, and antacids. Those foil packets expire, and you don't want to discover your Benadryl is dead when someone's breaking out in hives. Pro tip: keep extras in labeled, vacuum-sealed pouches with expiration dates written on them. I learned that trick from a former Navy corpsman who swears by visual inventory checks every 90 days. There's a comfort component to all of this too. Having fire and first aid close and knowing exactly where it is makes a world of difference in a high-stress situation. You move more confidently. You think more clearly. And when things get tough, you're not fumbling around in the dark, hoping the batteries in your flashlight still work. You're in control because you planned for the things most people forget. No one likes to think about getting sick during a crisis. But the truth is, illness doesn't care if there's a storm, blackout, or social collapse happening outside. It shows up anyway. And without access to a pharmacy or doctor, even minor issues can spiral into serious threats. That's why your emergency plan isn't complete until you've got meds and hygiene locked down and tucked away where they won't be grabbed in a rush or looted in chaos. Start with over-the-counter medications: painkillers, allergy meds, cold and flu remedies, digestive aids, and fever reducers, the basics. But also think in layers. That means multiple boxes of antihistamines, anti-diarrheal tablets, motion sickness relief, and even electrolyte packets. I keep mine separated by type in small labeled waterproof containers and stash them throughout the house: 1 in the bathroom, 1 in a nightstand, and 1 in a go bag under my desk at work. It might sound excessive, but when I caught food poisoning during a 2-day power outage last summer, I was grateful I didn't have to dig. Expiration matters, but not as much as storage. Heat and humidity will kill meds faster than the date on the box. Keep your supplies in dry, cool areas. Hall closets, bedroom drawers, or even under beds work better than a steamy bathroom cabinet. And if you've got prescription needs, talk to your doctor about getting an extra month or 2 filled ahead of time. Some insurance plans allow for 90-day refills. Don't waste that opportunity. Now, hygiene. It's not about luxury. It's about survival. Lack of cleanliness leads to infection, and infections without antibiotics can be fatal. That means soap, sanitizer, toothpaste, feminine hygiene products, toilet paper, deodorant, razors, and wet wipes. These aren't optional. They're core to your health. And yes, they're also some of the first items to vanish when panic buying kicks off. I keep extra bars of unscented soap, vacuum sealed in Ziplocs, tucked under my sink in what looks like a box of trash bags. For feminine care, go beyond just tampons. Stock pads, liners, and reusable menstrual cups. I've heard from more than one woman who said running out during a long storm shutdown was the worst part of the whole ordeal. And for families, don't forget diapers, wipes, and diaper rash cream. Even if your kids are almost out of that stage, better to have a few extras than wish you did. One trick I learned from an old prepping forum: keep hygiene kits ready to grab, pre-packed gallon bags with a bar of soap, travel toothbrush and paste, hand sanitizer, toilet paper rolls compressed in vacuum sealers, and a small towel. I've got 2 in my closet right now. They take up almost no space, but they'd be worth their weight in gold if we had to leave fast. There's dignity in being able to stay clean when everything else is falling apart. More than that, there's peace. You don't just feel better, you function better. Hygiene and medication aren't afterthoughts. They're what keep you steady when the world around you is anything but. Imagine needing to evacuate in the middle of the night. No lights, no phone signal, rain coming down hard. You're grabbing what you can, heading into the unknown. In that moment, survival gear isn't just useful, it's everything. And yet, most people treat it like an afterthought, something to pick up later or leave buried in the garage. That delay could cost you everything. Let's talk about the unsung heroes of any emergency: paracord, tarps, rain gear, and thermal clothing. These aren't tactical toys or overpriced novelty items. They're the backbone of real-world survival. The stuff that keeps you dry, warm, and functional when there's no backup coming. Start with paracord. Not rope, not twine. Paracord. The real 550-pound test kind with 7 inner strands that can be separated and used for everything from stitching wounds to making snares. You'd be shocked how often a strong cord saves the day. Need to secure a tarp? Fix a broken zipper? Make an emergency tourniquet? Paracord handles all of it. I keep 100 feet in my go bag, another 50 feet in my truck, and small bundles hidden in boots and jacket linings. Lightweight, inexpensive, nearly invisible until you need it. Next up, tarps. Forget flimsy plastic sheets. Get heavy-duty, weatherproof tarps in muted colors like brown, green, or gray. You can use them for shelter, to catch rainwater, to wrap gear, or even as makeshift stretchers. I've seen folks survive multi-day storms under nothing but a solid tarp and a bit of ingenuity. Keep one in your car, one near your exit point at home, and one folded flat under your mattress. It takes up less space than a winter blanket, and in a crisis, it's 10 times more useful. Rain gear is non-negotiable. Hypothermia doesn't wait for winter. All it takes is getting wet and stuck without shelter. Waterproof jackets, ponchos, and boots should be part of every stash. I prefer packable ponchos with grommets in the corners so they can double as tarps or cover for gear. One lives in my glove box. Another is strapped to the underside of my bug-out pack. They weigh next to nothing, but when the skies open up, they'll keep you moving instead of shivering. Now let's talk warmth. A power outage in November is very different from one in July. Thermal base layers, wool socks, gloves, beanies. Don't wait for winter to grab these. They go fast when cold snaps hit. Look for merino wool or synthetic blends that dry quickly and retain warmth even when damp. I wrap mine in vacuum-sealed bags to save space and keep moisture out. Throw a couple of hand warmers in each pack while you're at it. They're cheap and make a big difference when temps drop. One of the most overlooked pieces of gear? A compact emergency bivy sack. It's like a sleeping bag made out of space blanket material, reflecting heat back to your body. I tested one on a camping trip in October. Temps dipped into the 30s, and I stayed warm inside that crinkly silver cocoon all night. It now lives in the side pocket of my bug-out bag. And don't forget, all this gear only helps if you can get to it. That's why I spread mine out. A mini kit in the car, one near the front door, one hidden in the attic, and even a stash at my workplace locker. If disaster strikes when you're not home, you still need options. We always think we'll have time to prepare when trouble comes knocking. But the truth? You'll only have what's already in place. What you packed, what you hid, what you thought through when things were still calm. And that calm never lasts. The moment networks go down, cell towers fail, Wi-Fi cuts out, power grids collapse, the silence hits harder than you'd expect. No news, no texts, no GPS, just a blank screen and growing uncertainty. And in that silence, misinformation spreads fast, panic follows, and those who can't communicate become isolated targets. That's why this category, often overlooked, becomes one of the most critical when everything else falls apart. Forget the idea that your phone will always be your lifeline. In a true grid-down scenario, your smartphone is basically a paperweight unless you've prepared alternatives. And those alternatives start with something low-tech but powerful. A hand-crank radio. Not a cheap toy. I'm talking about a real NOAA-certified emergency radio with solar charging and USB output. Models from Midland or Eaton are rugged, compact, and some even double as power banks. I keep one in my hallway closet, right next to our go bags. It gets tested monthly. Not because I'm paranoid, but because it's the only way I'll know what's happening if the news feed disappears. The best ones have shortwave and AM/FM bands, so you can monitor regional broadcasts, emergency weather alerts, even international signals. During Hurricane Ian, a buddy of mine used his hand-crank radio to relay weather updates to his entire apartment complex. They had no power for 4 days. That radio became the difference between calm coordination and blind chaos. But information is only half the picture. You also need direction. Once GPS is out, your ability to navigate drops dramatically. So here's what you need: laminated local maps, topographical if possible, and a real compass, the kind that doesn't rely on batteries. I've got mine taped under the lid of an old toolbox in the garage. No one thinks to look there, but I know exactly where it is. And don't just stash maps and compasses. Learn how to use them. Take an hour to watch a few tutorials. Learn how to triangulate your location. Practice using landmarks instead of street signs. Because let's face it, in a real emergency, your town won't look the same. Roads might be blocked, signs could be gone, and you'll need to find new routes to old places. Chargers are another layer you can't skip. Portable battery packs are great, especially the solar ones. But think bigger. Get a folding solar panel that can charge your devices over time. I keep a 21-watt panel in my car's trunk with a waterproof battery bank. It's slow, but it works. And when you're out of juice and no one else has power, even one charged phone can be a massive advantage. If you've got kids, elderly parents, or loved ones who rely on devices, think ahead. A text that doesn't send isn't just frustrating, it's dangerous. Create a pre-agreed emergency plan, meeting spots, written instructions, even a printed list of contacts. During the California wildfires, people who had paper backups fared far better when cell towers failed. They weren't scrambling to remember numbers or addresses, they already had a fallback. Here's one trick I learned from a former SAR, search and rescue volunteer. Make a no-tech kit for every adult in your house. Map, compass, whistle, flashlight, notepad, and pen, all in a Ziploc bag. Store it near the exit. It might feel unnecessary until it's the only thing keeping you oriented in the dark. We rely on tech for everything, but when tech goes dark, human instinct and analog tools take over. Communication and navigation are how you stay connected, how you stay found, how you stay safe. When the rest of the world is fumbling in the dark, you'll have the tools to stay on course. And that makes you the calm in the storm. Some of the most useful survival items don't come with flashy packaging or expensive price tags. They're simple, often overlooked, and almost always forgotten until the moment you desperately need them. That's why we're finishing strong with a set of final essentials, the kind of tools that fill the gaps, patch the leaks, and turn chaos into something manageable. First on that list, heavy-duty garbage bags. Not the thin kitchen ones, I mean contractor grade. Black bags that can hold weight, resist tearing, and survive rough use. You'd be shocked at how many roles they play. Makeshift poncho, ground cover, water catchment, insulation layer, even emergency toilet liners. I keep a roll hidden inside an old toolbox in the garage and another stuffed in a hollowed-out container under the sink. When space is tight and every ounce matters, few items pull their weight like these. Next up, duct tape. And not the cheap stuff that peels in humidity. You want the industrial-grade rolls that stick to nearly anything and hold up under pressure. A busted tarp? Tape. Leaky water jug? Tape. Makeshift bandage wrap? Tape again. I've used it to seal windows, secure packs, fix boots, and once, during a windstorm, to close a broken car window for 2 days. Stash rolls in drawers, vehicles, backpacks, and glove compartments. One of mine lives in a fake cereal box in the pantry. Sounds silly, but no one ever checks it. Then there's the classic multi-tool. Not a toy with gimmicks, a real sturdy Leatherman or Gerber-style tool with pliers, blades, screwdrivers, and scissors. One tool that solves 100 problems. I've used mine to build shelters, repair solar panels, even slice open frozen food when knives weren't handy. Hide one in your car, another in your emergency bag, and keep a backup in your nightstand. You don't need it until you do. Then it's the most valuable item in the room. Emergency blankets are another overlooked gem. Those reflective mylar sheets don't seem like much until you're wet, cold, and out of options. They reflect 90% of body heat, weigh next to nothing, and can be tucked into pockets, wallets, and even books. I slipped one between the pages of a thick cookbook we never use. It's just there, waiting, invisible to anyone who isn't looking. A few stashed around the house or in the car could save lives if a winter storm strands you without heat. Last, but definitely not least, cash. Physical small denomination bills. In a grid-down scenario, credit cards and digital wallets are useless. ATMs go offline. Banks lock their doors. If you need supplies, transportation, or even a place to stay, cash still talks, especially when others have none. Hide it well. Inside books, behind drawer liners, sealed in bags taped to the underside of furniture. Spread it out so if one stash gets taken, others remain. I knew someone who kept $100 sealed inside a baggie tucked behind the insulation in his water heater closet. Never found, always ready. And while we're talking about readiness, don't forget documents, IDs, insurance papers, medical info. Make copies, laminate them, and seal them in waterproof bags. Keep one set in your go bag, another in a locked drawer, and a digital version on an encrypted USB drive. If you ever have to evacuate or prove who you are during a breakdown in systems, you'll be ready. This list wasn't just about stocking up. It was about staying quiet, thinking ahead, and hiding the right tools in the right places. Because the truth is, the world won't send out a warning before things unravel. No sirens, no countdown. Just a slow shift into disorder. And when that shift comes, it won't be the loudest or the strongest who thrive. It'll be the ones who prepared when nobody was watching and kept it to themselves.